Salute, 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 salute. Salute, YouTube. um, Real quick video from Nocturnal Thoughts. I just wanted to address or readdress Shawn Porter's latest fight with Sebastian Formella. Um, I don't want to be too too hasty with my decision on what I feel about this fight. Um, First of all, I don't want to be overly critical on judging a fighter, you know, based on his resume or lack thereof a resume. Like I want to give credit to all fighters. Anybody that laces up the gloves, has the courage, get inside the ring, and put his life on the line, put his health on the line. I want to be able to give them nothing but respect and salute. So I want to say salute to all the boxers that put your life on the line for the fans and our entertainment, right? Um, and I don't want to be overly critical on Shawn Porter. I was watching Fanon International, and he was proposing the question, or he was basically talking about the double standards in boxing. How, it's okay for other fighters to get a soft touch and nobody has an issue with it. But when Shawn Porter decides to have a soft touch with a no-name fighter, um, it's a problem. And Shawn Porter has fought the best of the best in the welterweight division, bar none. Um, so that's what I wanted to talk about in this video real quick, because I was, and I'm still. Let me break it down how I think about it. First of all, we all know Shawn Porter is uh, a truth machine, and we know he comes ready. Um, Him and his father, Kenny Porter, I feel like um, have been able to accomplish a lot more than what I look at it like this. When I look at a Kenny Porter, Shawn Porter relationship, um, I don't look at it the same way I look at a Floyd Money Mayweather and Floyd Mayweather Senior type of relationship, where you see a long history of boxing. Like you see all of his uncles boxing, you see his father boxing, and you see him teaching his son to box since he was, um, you know, just an ankle biter, coming out of the womb with boxing gloves on. I never seen that with Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter. To me, it looked like that Shawn Porter wanted to do other things first. He wanted to play other sports. He wanted to play football, and he transitioned into boxing, and it was a learning experience for both Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter, and they were able to dedicate themselves to um, the athletic version, the athletic, uh, to be the best athlete. You don't have to necessarily be the best boxer. You can add on these different boxing techniques as you improve and improve, but always be the best athlete. And with that technique, they were able to become a two-time champion. And I can't, disrespect that at all. That's just phenomenal. And I think that's going to go down in the history books. You had Shawn Porter, fight the best of the best. Beat Paulie Malignaggi. He beat Andre Berto. He beat Adrian Broner. He defeated Danny Garcia, Udenis Ugas. He had close fights with Keith Thurman. He had a close fight with Kell Brook. Um, he had a close fight with Errol Spence, with EJ. So, his ability is unquestionable. Um, for him to take a soft touch now in his career, going against a Sebastian Formella, who I know nothing about. So I had to go back and do some film study and do some research and look up this Formella just to see if he was a worthy opponent, you know. Um, and I had to be, and I was overly critical, and I'm still going to be somewhat critical looking at this fight. I know it's a pandemic. I know he has to stay busy. I know he has to keep his tools sharp and everything like that, you know. But at the same time, I'm looking at Sebastian Formella, and I don't see. Let me be respectful to Sebastian Formella. Um, he does have some good qualities. He is, he's not. He's a step above a domestic fighter. He does have a nice back foot where I see he likes to dance around the ring. He has a nice back foot, and he can sneak in there with a nice jab, and he has a nice 1-2 combination that he gets off the back foot. Um, but I don't see a decent amount of power. I don't see a decent amount of skill in his defenses. He gets touched up a lot. I watched 3 of his fights. I watched his fight against Roberto Arizara. Forgive me for the names. Um, I seen this fight against um, the dude name was, I can't think of it, something Alani um, something. I forget this dude's name. And then I watched him fight against Mason Gurki, and Mason Gurki stands out the most because Mason Gurki, he had 15 wins and he had 108 losses, and out of those losses, he had 33 losses by KO. So I look back to see this fight between Mason Gurki and Sebastian Formella, and this fight was about 5 years ago. Because I want to say maybe he was just at the very beginning of his career, and that's why he couldn't put this guy away. Because Formella won this fight against Mason Gurki with a unanimous decision, and I'm thinking this dude's been knocked out 33 times. Let me see this fight between Sebastian Formella and Mason Gurki to see uh, his why he wasn't able to knock him out. And I watched the fight. I briskly watched through the fight. I had to skip through a lot of parts, but he was getting touched in that fight too. So I have to say he has a lack of defense and a lack of power. Um, and Mason Gurki, I mean, there's no disrespect to him because it's not easy to go and get beat up 108 times or to get knocked out 33 times and keep fighting. But no disrespect to him, but I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, I could step into the ring with Mason Gurki and I would damn near say I would probably be able to beat him. You know what I'm saying? Not to say he ain't a tough dude. He looked like a tough dude, but at the same time, he didn't look like he had he didn't look he wasn't in great shape. He didn't have a lot of power. He didn't have a lot of defense. He didn't look like he was in great conditioning, and he really didn't look like a fighter. But he looked like a domestic fighter. Period. Point blank. And watching Mason Gurki, I feel like even at my age now, if I started to fight, if that was my first fighter, I would probably be able to touch him and knock him out. Honestly. And that's not me trying to brag or anything like that. That's just me being honest. I felt like looking at that fight, I would be able to knock out Mason Gurki. So I'm looking at Sebastian Formella, and to me, Sebastian Formella, I think he has 15 KOs. Well, no, but Sebastian has 20 wins. 20 wins, and I think half is KO. So 20 wins and 10 knockouts. I would expect to see him have knocked out this Gurki guy. Anyway, I just don't see where he's a formidable opponent to a Shawn Porter. Now, I know Shawn Porter wants to maybe take a... Now, if Shawn Porter, coming off a tough fight, coming off of an L, um, They interviewed him and he was talking about this pandemic and he was saying that everybody has the same amount of break time. There's no excuses. Everybody should be fighting everybody. I took that as the best should be fighting the best. If you don't want to fight the best and you need to have busy work while there's a pandemic going on, I don't understand why you can't set up a fight with some of these young guys, um, Virgil Ortiz or Jerron Boots Ennis. You know, Virgil Ortiz, a little Texas boy, got all knockouts on his record right now. I believe all knockouts, all TKO knockouts, and he's young. So even if you was to school him and give him his first L, he can rebuild his career. Similar to Canelo losing to Floyd Mayweather. Same thing with Jerron Boots Ennis. Jerron Boots Ennis is running through his competition. I think he has like 22 fights. He's from Philadelphia, so you know they scrapping over in Philadelphia. And he can fight with Shawn Porter. Even if he was to take a loss, that would only be able to elevate his career. He loses to Shawn Porter, and now because we always say it's not all about not losing, it's about getting knocked down and getting back up. Shawn Porter in a position to where he just lost to Errol Spence. I would like to see him. Um, I know these would be tough fights to make, but fight Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman don't want. I think because Keith Thurman won last time. He edged him out. I think Keith Thurman would lose this fight now. I think Shawn Porter would beat Keith Thurman right now. Udanis Ugas. That was a close fight. Some people argue that you lost that fight against Udanis Ugas. I said he did enough to edge out the fight, but I would still like to see another fight. You want to stay busy, still stay busy at a high level of fighting. Udanis Ugas. You know, just like Errol Spence just coming off of an accident could go back. If Errol Spence came off of an accident and he was to be fighting Sebastian Formella, most people will understand. Most people will say, yeah, he need a tune-up. But to me, a tune-up on that level would do him no good if you was to fight a Sebastian Formella and then jump back into the real world and fight who? Another Shawn Porter or Terrence Crawford or Danny Garcia or Manny Pacquiao. You see what I'm saying? So I understand, and I'm not trying to be double standard. I understand if you can fight a tune-up here and there, but this tune-up doesn't make that much sense to me. Besides it being busy work and being probably more business, keeping the money coming in, keeping your name and keeping your brand, you know what I'm saying, with some kind of a momentum going behind it. Even though Shawn Porter's coming off of a loss, I still feel like Shawn Porter has enough in his gas tank to make another run at the top. You know what I'm saying? And if he's not going to run for the top, aim at these kids that's coming from the top. That's real, has real potential to be great. That's going to make them great and make you great. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to pass the torch or fight these guys that's still at the top that you can still beat, like you should be going after Keith Thurman. You know what I'm saying? Knocking him out of his position. You should be going after, to be honest with you, all the way honest, you should be trying to fight Terrence Bud Crawford. Period, point blank. That's the only fight that really makes sense to me. Besides you trying to get a rematch with Errol Spence, which Errol Spence is moving on, you should be trying to fight Keith Thurman to basically going to give you revenge on somebody that beat you, and it's going to put you in a position to, challenge the winner between Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, because Manny Pacquiao is fighting Mikey Garcia and then he's getting out of there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like I said, I don't want to be too overly judgmental on the tune-up fight or somebody that you think is a soft touch, because you got to be careful about those. You could think it's a cherry pick, you could think it's a tune-up fight, and it could lead to you getting defeated. Like, you know what I'm saying, Andy Ruiz was supposed to be a soft touch. Some people say Tyson Fury was supposed to be a soft touch for Deontay Wilder in the first fight. Egidijus Kovalevskis, like when Terrence Bud Crawford was gonna fight Egidijus Kovalevskis, the guy from Lithuania. I did some film study on him, and I said, okay, I see that dude. He don't have a big name, but at least he's posing a threat. He's naturally a bigger guy than Terrence Bud Crawford. And it's obviously that he has some kind of crack. He got some pop in his hands. Looked like he had crack in both hands. So when he was able to drop Terrence Bud Crawford in the third round, I wasn't surprised. He had been on the couch for, I think, a year or so. So once he gassed out and got, overwhelmed and got beat up and got knocked out by Terrence Bud Crawford, I wasn't surprised how that fight went down. That fight kind of played out exactly how I thought it would play out. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I was like, don't sleep on the Gitas Kovaloskas, the Mean Machine, just because he has a name you can't pronounce. He does have some power. He was straight up and down, no special effects. So I knew he shouldn't pose too much of a problem once Terrence Bud Crawford had him figured out. Terrence Bud came in there, downloaded him. He did take a shot. He did go down. It wasn't clean. Some people, it didn't get called a knockdown, but to me, it looked like he got caught and then he got pushed down, but it was a knockdown. Andre Ward said it was a knockdown. I looked at it. I said it was a knockdown. He gets back up. He does what he have to do. He destroys the Mean Machine, right? Some people don't want to give Terrence Bud Crawford credit for the Mean Machine. I'm looking at the Mean Machine and I'm saying at least he had some power, at least he had some size, and he had just fought Ray Robinson and had a draw with Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson is one of the only people that's known for having a fight with Terrence Bud Crawford earlier in their career before they were professionals, and Ray Robinson actually beat Terrence Bud Crawford. After he beat Terrence Bud Crawford, they said that Terrence Crawford and his whole family tried to jump Ray Robinson. You know what I'm saying? But Ray Robinson is still out there. That would be a good fight for Terrence Bud Crawford. I heard he might be fighting Gary Russell Jr. So, like I said, I was really excited about, the lineup of Leo Santa Cruz and Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Tank Davis, Vasily Lomachenko, Jamel Charlo fighting Deverenchenko, or Jamel Charlo fighting Rosario, Jamar Charlo fighting Deverenchenko, and then you see Shawn Porter, and I want to see him mix it up too, and he's fighting a guy I never heard of and had to go back and look at it, and Sebastian Formella. And to me, Sebastian Formella, don't want to say anything negative about him, but I don't see him posing any threat to Shawn Porter at all. And it's sort of disappointing because I feel like Shawn Porter, I just think it's one thing to take a soft touch or to stay busy, but you still want to stay at a certain level of competition. You know what I'm saying? You still want to stay at a certain level of competition, and there's better competition for him to be facing. That's not that much of a mixed match. That's not that far of a handicap fight. So I'm not going to be overly critical of Shawn Porter, but I am going to say it's somewhat disappointing, and I won't be watching that fight. No matter how they play it out, I'll let that fight pass me by because I haven't, I just don't see it being an entertaining fight or an exciting fight. I'm watching Sebastian Formella in his fights, and to me, I would rather see Sebastian Formella fight Virgil Ortiz or fight Jerron Boots Ennis. I think those would be much more entertaining fights because at least Virgil Ortiz is up and coming, and Jerron Boots Ennis is up and coming. But Shawn Porter is already established. Yes, he want to stay busy. He can fight maybe a safer fight, but I think there's other opponents out there for him to fight, like a Keith Thurman, which would make more sense. Anyways, that's all I got on that. I did hear that Miss Brackus, she lost her fight. I got to go back and check that out. Other than that, man, I appreciate everybody. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Everybody that's already subscribed, like I always say, man, I really appreciate y'all. That's it. I'm out. I'm peacing out. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about Shawn Porter and Sebastian Formella. Does he deserve a soft touch right now, or should he be trying to fight tougher competition? Is the media being too hard on him Is it a double standard? Is it a double standard for them to say it's cool for Tyson Fury to fight Otto Valen and Tom Schwartz, but it's not cool for Shawn Porter to fight Sebastian Formella? Um, what if Errol Spence? What if Errol Spence would have been coming off the accidents and he would have been fighting Sebastian Formella? What would be the commotion? What would people be talking about then? Would it be him getting bashed for it, or would he be getting credit for it? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. This is Nocturnal Thoughts, man. I appreciate y'all time. I salute you. Peace. Together we stand, divided we fall. I'm out.